Today's recipe is for a very, very easy, quick, simple, amazing, and delicious creamy baked ziti. And because it's so simple and fast to put together, I'm even making my sauce, which, well, I always make, but I know a lot of people tend to reach for a jar. And I think you should make sauce. I really, really think it. In fact, the other day, my mother called me and she said to me, "What's that jarred sauce that you like?" And there is one. But I don't use it very frequently because I always make my own sauce these days because I figured out a really simple recipe that only takes like 30 minutes to make. And if you speed it along, you can even do it in 15 minutes. Or that's what I do at home. Anyway, all it calls for is 3 cloves of garlic minced, 2 cans of whole peeled tomato in their juice that you're gonna puree. I have those right here behind me. And some hot pepper flakes and olive oil. That's it. So easy. And in fact, if you have a family who doesn't like spice, you can leave out the hot pepper flakes. Okay, so I have a pan heating. I'm using a large straight-sided skillet. To that, add a 1/4 cup of olive oil. You can do a half of this recipe as well if you're just making it for pasta, but because we're making a whole baked pasta dish, you want to have lots of sauce because it gets absorbed as the pasta cooks. Add your garlic and some hot pepper flakes, 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. I'm going to use the smaller amount because my son Hayden is very spice sensitive, and often when I'm making this at home, I don't put any hot pepper flakes in at all, which everybody else suffers. I'm going to also cook my pasta while I'm doing this. It's a pound of pasta. I'm using ziti because this is baked ziti, but any short pasta shape will do. It's up to you. You can even use fusilli, which I think if you've been watching me long enough, you know I can't stand. And it's completely unfair. There's no reason for it, none whatsoever. I guess there was just too many fusilli dishes when I was learning how to cook. Everything was made with fusilli. Okay, let that get aromatic. The garlic should just simmer in there. It shouldn't get too brown. That won't take too long. I'm actually going to turn it down because I don't want it to happen too quickly while I puree my tomatoes. This is 2 cans of whole peeled tomatoes. I like to puree them in a food processor because it's fast, but then you do have to wash your food processor. You know, again, if you've been watching me for a while, that's one of the things that I don't like doing, but I also like the texture. I don't like them, the tomatoes to be too chunky, so I like to puree. You can also use a stick blender if you have one. In fact, that's what I use at home. Now I'm going to turn it back up again, and you want to simmer this until it's reduced and slightly thickened. That'll take about 30 minutes. So just bring this to a boil, reduce it to a simmer. Oh, probably want to season it. Don't be too heavy-handed though, because it's going to reduce, so you don't want it to be overly seasoned. You can always season more at the end, but you definitely want to season as you're going because that's how you develop flavor. Pasta is ready to drain. You do not need to save pasta water this time, so don't yell at me if I don't save pasta water. You don't need it for this recipe. Okay. So steamy. Okay. The sauce has reduced and thickened slightly, and now I'm going to stir in 4 ounces of cream cheese. This adds additional creaminess. I mean, obviously, you know what it does. Stir it in. I've turned off the heat. The residual heat from the sauce, which has been simmering, is enough to melt the cream cheese. The first thing that you're going to do is add 1 cup of sauce to the bottom of your baking dish. It's a 9 by 13. Just to add a little layer. It's about a cup. I'm not measuring, but you just want to have a little coating on the bottom of your pan. And then I have 8 ounces of cheese that I've grated. I'm going to put half of it into the bottom of this pan and then toss the pasta with 3 cups of the sauce. You don't need to be, listen, we've given measurements for this because that's what is required when writing a recipe. But you know that you don't really need to measure all of these things necessarily. You just want to make sure that your pasta is coated with sauce and that you're layering everything together. Anyway, so measuring, you can do it if you want to. I'm not even really doing it, but you want to make sure that your pasta gets pre-coated with sauce. So use an amount that will do that. mean, in the end, it all ends up going in there anyways, so stir it together. And this is also gonna get some Parmesan cheese, about a half a cup. Stir it together. Then you can put the pasta into the pan on top of that sauce and cheese. The real goal here is getting everything coated in cheesy, tomatoey deliciousness, and that is what we're doing. Then the rest of the sauce, the rest of the cheese, and a bake situation. Looks like a lot of sauce, but trust me, it all gets absorbed. And I feel like I'm always adding too little sauce to my baked pastas, and then they end up dry, and it's really not that nice. So don't be afraid. And if you slightly undercook your pasta, like a little bit less than al dente, it finishes baking in the oven. I forgot to mention that, but that's something that I always do. And you should too. Top with the remaining cheese. It's another cup of mozzarella and another half a cup of parm. And just get this into a 450-degree oven until all the cheese is melted, and then turn it to broil to get it a little bit brown on top. Oh, baby. That looks amazing. So bake for about 10 minutes, broil just until bubbly on top and brown. You could probably go a little farther than this, but I recently burnt something in the broiler and I didn't want to because I was nervous and I want to be able to eat this. So at your own risk. I probably shouldn't dig into this now, but I'm gonna anyway because I'm really hungry and this looks and smells fantastic. Cheesy goodness. That is so easy. I think this is gonna be in your regular rotation because once you taste it, you're not gonna be able to stop making it. It's cheesy, it's creamy, it's so easy to put together. You should really give this recipe a try. If you like recipes like this and you want more, make sure to click like and subscribe because we have plenty more where this came from.